Hi, welcome to another video for telling you the stories behind the poems that are in my collection Between Hindsight and Foresight. One of the reasons why the collection is called Between Hindsight and Foresight is because these are the best of the poems that I've written over a long period of time, from my teenage years all the way up to last year. The reason why I'm choosing See the Moment as this week's poem is because it was selected by you guys from the poll that I put on my Facebook page on Mondays. This video will appear on my YouTube channel as well as the Facebook page for the collection of poems, because I like to share the reasons why I write my poems and the sources of them, because I write poetry to resonate with other people. I like to capture a moment, capture an emotion, capture a place, and pin it to the page with words that feel appropriate, that feel like they capture what I'm seeing or thinking or feeling at the time. So that is one of the things that I get asked most often. Whenever anybody sees the book or asks me about the book, it's always the same. What are your poems about? My poems are about emotions or experiences that I have, moments in time, and See the Moment kind of encapsulates a main theme that runs through most of my poems. That idea that we need to stop and breathe and look around us, that we need to capture those moments, because if we don't, if we let them completely fly by unnoticed, we're not really experiencing or living the things that are around us. And we find ourselves frequently just watching our lives go by, feeling like we're late all the time for an appointment or an errand or work or a meeting or a date or meeting up with friends or a barbecue. Like, even for the fun stuff, you know, when we are going to a museum, or we're going to the cinema, or we're going anywhere for any reason, we quite often focus on the end and not all the moments in between. And so this is a theme that runs through much of my poetry. A lot of my poetry is very sensory detailed, visual, sounds, smells, the sensations in your skin, the touch. I'm a very sensory person, particularly visual. I want, with my words on my poems, to have you feel or see or experience the thing that I'm trying to capture in the poem at the same time as you're reading it. I want you to feel that. And so See the Moment is about just that, about stopping from our high-speed, crazy, I'm late for an appointment lives to look around us. Now, in the poem, I mentioned specifically sunrise and sunset, because those are the times that nature and our environment is so magnificent that even most people that would miss it, even most people that forget to look around them, are shocked out of that for a split second to look at the beautiful colors that come with sunset or sunrise. So I focus on that in the poem because I want you to understand that there's all that time in between as well. When I first moved to Europe, I was blown away. My country is very young, and so while we have some amazing sights and some amazing skyscrapers and environments, we don't have 700-year-old cathedrals. And the first town I came to when I moved to the UK was Canterbury, and Canterbury has a 700-year-old cathedral with decades and centuries of history attached to it, and it sits almost in the middle of a medieval town that still has the medieval wall. And inside the medieval wall, there are parts that you can see where the Roman wall ends and the medieval wall tops it. So this concept that there's all of these things around us every single day, whether we live in the US or whether we live in the UK or where we live anywhere in Europe or anywhere around the world, these things that we forget to look up at are dramatic. These things that we forget to look up at are of the attitude that it's always been there, so I'll look at it later when I have time. It's always been there, it's always going to be there, and therefore I'll look at it later, or I'll wait until I'm sharing it with someone. When I first came to the UK, that was the experience I had with most of my British friends when we would go and we would look at a cathedral or we would look at a castle. There was this concept that, well, I've never been here. Why would I come here? This is my hometown. It's always been there. I'll go some other time. Or I may have gone with school at some point. I completely forget. This idea that you're so steeped in history, that you're so steeped in a wealth of beautiful architectural wonders, not just at point A and point B, but every step in between, never ceases to amaze me. Every time I go on a holiday, every time I go to visit a new city, it's one of those things I try very, very hard to do. I try very, very hard to walk between the sites that I'm seeing and to look up at those sites, because nothing entrances me more than some of these ceilings or these sculptures that are on the corner of buildings that have been there for centuries that nobody notices because they've just always been there looking down at them. I was in Austria a few years ago and I walked into an art museum, the National Art Museum, that was absolutely amazingly filled with statues and paintings that were beautiful. But the entranceway, just the ceiling inside the dome of the entranceway, was gorgeous. And of course I saw it because it was the first thing that I did when I walked into the building. The floor was beautiful. I looked down at the floor and then I looked up at this amazing ceiling and I took a picture to try and show other people what I was talking about. This philosophy of look up, stop where you are, ignore the paving stones if there's nothing interesting there, but look up. See every moment, not just point A and point B, but all the moments in between. And so the things that I write in my poems are an attempt to do it in words, and the writing prompts that I've been putting up on my Instagram and my Twitter, which is called Leah-The-Dreamer, all those photographs are mine. They're photographs that I took when I was looking for poetic moments through my camera, and I have added to it words because that is how I see the world. I see a particularly interesting site or a particularly interesting object or an arrangement of objects, something that just kind of strikes me about it visually that's poetic, and then sometimes emotionally, which comes into the poems. See the moment is that thematic element that runs through a lot of my poems. So when you are reading the poems, stop, think about it. Every word is carefully chosen, whether it's rhyming or not, whether it's in a particular form or not. See the moment is me telling you why I try to capture these poems. All the pictures that I put out on the writing prompts are me trying to show you what I see when I stop, breathe, and look up. So if you do nothing else today, please do that. And thank you for listening to another story about behind the poem. And I can't wait to see you next week.